Imagine you walk into a coffee shop. There are two men sitting at the corner table. The first man is wearing a designer watch. His suit costs more than your rent. His shoes are Italian. His hair looks like it was styled by someone who charges by the strand. He drives a car that honks when it parks itself. The second man is wearing a faded t-shirt, simple jeans, worn-out sneakers. He is sipping a plain black coffee. He drove here in a 12-year-old car with a cracked windshield. Now, which one is richer? You probably said the first guy. Obviously. Right? Wrong. The second man has $40 million sitting quietly in index funds. He owns 3 buildings. He hasn't checked his net worth in 6 months because he doesn't need to. Money isn't something he performs. It's something he has. The first man? He earns good money. But he spends better. His watch is on a payment plan. His suit is a conversation starter because his bank account isn't. He is not rich. He is performing richness. And there is a massive difference between those two things. This is the psychology of wealth. And once you understand it, you will never look at rich people the same way again. Let's start in a small town. A fictional place. Let's call it Goldville. Goldville is a simple place. People work. People earn. People spend. Life is predictable. Normal. Steady. There is a butcher named Marco. Marco works hard. Every day, same routine. He saves a little. He spends a little. He keeps his head down. He does not talk about money. He does not display money. He just has money. Quietly. Patiently. Year after year. Then there is his neighbor, Carlos. Carlos earns about the same as Marco. But Carlos just got a raise. And the moment Carlos got that raise, he bought a new car. A big, shiny, loud car. The whole street noticed. People came out of their houses just to look. And something interesting happened in Goldville that day. People didn't think Carlos must have gotten a raise. They thought Carlos must be doing really well. And that one small moment, that one shiny car in a quiet street, began to change everything. Because here is the thing about human brains. We are terrible at seeing what is invisible. We cannot see Marco's savings account. We cannot see his investments. We cannot see the slow, quiet compounding of his money over 20 years. None of that is visible. None of that catches the eye. But we can see Carlos's car. Immediately. Loudly. Clearly. And so, without even thinking about it, we began to measure wealth by what we can see. This is how it starts. This is always how it starts. Wealth became a show. And showing up became more important than actually having something. The performance of richness slowly replaced richness itself. And Goldville didn't even notice it was happening. Now, more people in Goldville started watching Carlos. His car. His new watch. His expensive shoes. And they started feeling something. A quiet little itch. A voice in the back of the mind. If Carlos can have that, why can't I? This is the trigger. This is where the psychology kicks in. This is the moment where normal human behavior starts to bend. Because we don't compare ourselves to people in other countries. We don't compare ourselves to people from history. We compare ourselves to the person next door. The person on the same street. The person we went to school with. The person whose life we can see up close. Economists call this relative deprivation. A normal person calls it, why does Carlos get the good stuff? And once that feeling starts, it spreads. Maria, who lives 3 houses down, watched Carlos. She felt the itch. She took out a small loan and bought a new television. A big one. Visible through the window from the street. Then David, who delivered groceries, saw Maria's television. He felt the itch. He upgraded his phone. His old one worked fine. But the new one was visible. Noticeable. Better looking. Then Sarah got new furniture. Then Tom renovated his kitchen. Then Anna bought jewelry she wore to the supermarket. None of them were dramatically richer. They were just more visible. They were wearing their money instead of keeping it. They were spending future money to look wealthy today. And with every purchase, Goldville's invisible scorecard updated. The standard rose. The baseline shifted. What once looked normal now looked poor. And what once looked excessive now looked expected. This is how the spiral builds. Once the baseline shifts, everyone has to run faster just to stay in the same place. It is like standing in a stadium where everyone slowly stands up to see better. Eventually, everyone is standing. Nobody sees better than before. And now everyone is exhausted from standing. But nobody sits down first. Because the first person to sit down looks like a loser. This is the trap. This is the machine. Spend more. Look better. Raise the bar. Force others to spend more. And repeat. Economists call this the consumption treadmill. And it is merciless. Because the finish line keeps moving. There is no destination. There is only faster. Now here is where it gets interesting. Here is where Marco comes back into the story. While everyone else in Goldville was running on the treadmill, Marco was not. Marco did not buy a new car when Carlos did. He said nothing. He showed nothing. He kept saving. He kept investing. He kept compounding quietly in the background while everyone else was spending tomorrow's money on today's appearances. 10 years passed. Carlos's shiny car was now old. Its payments were still coming out every month. His credit card balance had slowly grown. His savings account was thin because his image was thick. But Marco? Marco quietly bought a second property. Then a third. His index fund had doubled. Then doubled again. He lived in the same modest house. Drove the same modest car. Wore the same modest clothes. And one day, Goldville finally noticed. Not because Marco showed them. But because someone asked him for financial advice. And he gave it. And it worked. And the word spread. Marco was the richest man in Goldville. And nobody had known. This is the psychology of wealth. The real psychology. Not the flashy stuff. The invisible stuff. Truly wealthy people, in most cases, do not look wealthy. Not because they are hiding it deliberately. But because they stopped caring about the performance a long time ago. The performance was never the point. The accumulation was the point. The security was the point. The freedom was the point. And here is the key insight. Here is the thing that changes everything when you truly understand it. A luxury car does not make you rich. It is evidence that you were rich for a moment. One specific moment. The moment you paid for it. After that moment, it starts declining in value immediately. Every day, that car is worth a little less than the day before. You are holding a depreciating asset and calling it wealth. But an investment that compounds quietly in the background? That grows. Every single day. A little more. Then more. Then exponentially more. One makes you look wealthy. The other makes you actually wealthy. They are not the same thing. They are often opposites. Let's talk about the psychology behind why so many people choose the performance over the reality. First, there is something called social signaling. Human beings are deeply social animals. We have been wired by evolution to signal our status to others. In ancient times, status meant survival. The high-status person got more food, more protection, more security. Our brains still work that way. We still signal. We still watch for signals. The difference is that today, the signals are expensive and the benefits are mostly imaginary. Second, there is delayed gratification failure. Compounding wealth is invisible for a very long time. You save for years and nothing seems to happen. But when you spend on something visible, the reward is immediate. You get the look. You get the reaction. You get the dopamine hit right now. The brain loves right now. The brain hates waiting. So we spend today and promise ourselves we will save tomorrow. And tomorrow never quite arrives. Third, there is identity attachment. This is the sneaky one. People begin to see their spending as part of who they are. The watch is not just a watch. It is a statement. It says, I am successful. I am worthy. I have made it. When your self-worth is attached to visible symbols, losing those symbols feels like losing yourself. So you protect them. You prioritize them. Even when it costs you your actual financial future. Fourth, there is social comparison bias. We do not compare ourselves to our ideal future self. We compare ourselves to people around us, right now, in real time. And in the age of social media, the people around us are curated highlights of the most expensive moments of the most financially aggressive individuals on the planet. The comparison pool has never been more misleading. And the pressure has never been higher. Now here is where the system accelerator enters the picture. Credit. Credit changed everything. In the old world, you could only spend money you had. There was a natural limit. You reached the limit, you stopped spending. Simple. But credit removed that limit. Suddenly you could spend money you hadn't earned yet. You could spend money you might never earn. And it all felt exactly the same as spending money you actually had. The car felt the same. The watch felt the same. The furniture felt the same. Credit democratized the performance of wealth. Suddenly, nearly anyone could look wealthy regardless of whether they were. This was, on the surface, a beautiful thing. Access. Opportunity. Flexibility. But underneath? It supercharged the spiral. Now the consumption treadmill had an engine. Now Marco's modest lifestyle looked not just unremarkable but almost suspicious. Why is Marco not spending? Doesn't he have credit? What is wrong with Marco? Meanwhile, Carlos's credit card grew. And grew. And grew. Here is the peak moment. The moment of maximum illusion. Goldville, from the outside, looked incredibly prosperous. New cars on every street. Renovated kitchens visible through every window. Designer clothes on every body. The town looked rich. It felt rich. Everyone was performing richness at the highest level they had ever achieved. But underneath the surface, most people were one emergency away from catastrophe. One job loss. One medical bill. One broken appliance. One single disruption was all it would take. And then the disruption came. It always comes. The factory on the edge of town announced layoffs. 50 people lost their jobs in a single week. And then the cracks appeared. Carlos couldn't make his car payment. Maria's credit card minimum became a crisis. David sold his phone at a loss. The spending that had felt normal for years suddenly became unbearable. And for the first time in a long time, people in Goldville looked at Marco's modest house with completely different eyes. The aftermath was not equal. The people who had lived for the performance suffered. Not just financially, but psychologically. Because their identity was wrapped in their spending. Losing the spending meant losing themselves. It was not just a financial crisis. It was a personal one. But Marco? Marco barely noticed. He had no payments to miss. No debt to carry. No image to maintain. He had options. He had time. He had cushion. And because he had those things, he had something everyone else was desperately looking for in that moment. Peace. So let's make this as clear as a cloudless sky. The psychology of wealth is this: most people optimize for looking wealthy, not for being wealthy. And these two goals, when they conflict, almost always push in opposite directions. Visible spending reduces net worth. Invisible saving builds it. The richest people in the world, statistically, disproportionately live in modest homes, drive used or ordinary cars, shop carefully, and do not announce their finances. This is not an accident. This is the method. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest humans on the planet, still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,000. He drives himself to McDonald's and orders from the value menu when the market is down. He is not performing poverty. He simply never confused performance with substance. His identity was never attached to visible objects. His identity was attached to freedom, to security, to compounding. That is the pattern. That is the secret that does not feel like a secret. Save more than you show. Invest more than you impress. Build more than you broadcast. The real lesson of Goldville is not that spending is bad. Spending is fine. Life is for living. The lesson is about the order and the intention behind each choice. Are you spending because you genuinely want something? Or are you spending because you need someone else to see it? Are you buying the thing? Or are you buying the reaction to the thing? There is a freedom that comes from not needing to be seen. From not needing validation through objects. From knowing your worth without needing to display it. It is a quiet freedom. An invisible freedom. But it is the most powerful financial mindset a person can carry. Because the truly rich person in the coffee shop is not the one performing richness for the room. It is the one who came to drink coffee, quietly, comfortably, with nowhere to be and nothing to prove. And that, more than any watch or car or designer suit, is what wealth actually looks like. Subscribe my channel and hit the like button. Don't forget to drop your comments.
Please subscribe. And don't forget to like and comment. Thanks for watching.